Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. It's just me here because Matt is currently at work, slogging away while I get to sit at a beautiful lake with a tea in my hand. I thought today would be a great day to talk about our electrical setup because it has been a lousy few days here at Lake Abraham, and I think it's going to be another couple of days of overcast weather. So what that means for me is I have to start being a lot more power conscious, because if I'm not moving anywhere, we solely rely on solar to charge our batteries. So I thought now would be a really great time to actually show everyone our new electrical system, how it works and how it's been so far. A little bit of backstory on this camper. It is a 24-year-old camper, and when we purchased it, it was basically the same as how it came out of the factory. So everything was stock standard, 24 years old, the interior, the electrical. When these come out of factory, they're not exactly off-grid campers. You can take them a lot of places. However, it did primarily depend on shore power, whether at like a campground or a house or wherever, or running off of a generator, which is effectively the same as being plugged in at a campground. It did have an existing 12-volt system to power things like the lights, the thermostats, heating, and all that sort of stuff. But anything to do with powering appliances was not possible. And this is something we knew we really needed, because we did not and we do not want to rely on being at campgrounds all the time. Nor did we want to be those people who are running a generator 24/7. If you know, you know. Now, what we needed out of this electrical system was obviously to be able to run household appliances. Secondly, we needed multiple ways of charging it, because we will be living in this camper during winter, and obviously in winter you've not got a lot of sun, so we couldn't solely rely on our solar power. So we also needed to incorporate DC to DC charging, so we are getting a charge from our alternator while we're driving, and also a third sort of backup way of charging, which would be being plugged into shore power or a generator, but with a faster rate of charge. Previous battery charger that was in this camper, it wasn't set up for lithium. There was no way to change it to a lithium charge, so it would never charge it fully, and also it was just a trickle charge, which is absolutely nothing. I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, maybe not. And lastly, we needed to have enough storage as well. So previously it only had one 100 amp hour lead acid battery, which was located outside in one of the outer compartments. And we knew that that was not going to cut it. So what have we done to meet all those specific needs? So we have got our solar, we have got an inverter charger, we have got a DC to DC charger, and we have 2 lithium deep cycle batteries. We actually brought in our battery system, and we wanted to have it all in one relatively centralized location. It makes sense when you need to get at everything and connect everything. The second reason being, you save on copper wire. Because we are running a 3000 watt inverter charger, we need 4-aught wire. It's not very pliable, it doesn't like to be bent, and it's very expensive when you need a good distance of it. So we've probably saved on 8 feet of wire. All right, let me take you on a tour. So starting on the roof, because the sun has come out and it's now a beautiful afternoon, I want to show you these solar panels. So these are Renogy solar panels. Our entire electrical system is Renogy. We didn't want to chop and change between other brands, because it just felt better to have them all as one brand, and that way they can all communicate with each other the way that they're designed to communicate. I know Victron's a really big brand. It's just not a brand that we decided to go with, purely because of cost. They are quite expensive, and to do the same setup through Victron, it was just going to cost so much more. So we did go with Renogy, because they did have fairly good reviews, and it was a one-stop shop for everything. So Here are our panels. We have got 4 100-watt solar panels. We bought this as a part of their kit. So it came with all the screws, the mounts, everything you need to install it. And they're connected in series. So they're all connected to one. They go down this vent here. This is our fridge vent. And they go down the back of the fridge vent and inside. I don't have any issues with these. They're really good. The only thing is that one's crooked and that annoys me. So I don't like to come up here too often because that one just does my head in, but that's okay. You do what you gotta do, you know? Alright, so that brings us back down into the camper. This here is our electrical cupboard. It's right next to our stove and the fridge. As you saw on the roof, our solar panels actually come down through the back of the fridge vent, and that way we figured this was a great central location. It's right next to that vent. It is also right next to our Magnetech. Best location. Everything's all in here. We don't have to stuff around with having different components all over the camper. They're all one space, they're all centralized, and it just makes sense. So let's go in and see what it's like. This is the 40 amp MPPT charge controller with Bluetooth. Now our solar panels come through those wires there, and they go out the back where the fridge is. And this here is the Bluetooth module, so that allows the device to speak to our monitoring system on our phones and also our screen, our monitoring screen as well. To the side with the flashing green lights, this is our 3000 watt inverter charger. Again, Bluetooth, so we can control it and adjust all the settings with our phones. Now this has been amazing. It's very quiet, and the best part about this is that not only does it invert 12 volt power to AC power, it also charges the batteries when plugged into AC power. So with this, you can go into the app and you can change what amperage you want to charge it at depending on what you're plugged into. So we are sometimes, so at a campground, we might be plugged into a 30 amp power plug, so we can raise that, or if we are plugged into a house or a generator, then we can lower it. It's a disclaimer, they're not meant to be mounted this way, but we're so limited on space, we just had to make do with what we could, and this is how it is. See, these are the big 4-aught wires that I was talking about. They are crazy big and they do not like to bend very easy, but we've got 2 of those, obviously one running to the positive and negative, and we've got a fuse just in behind on the wall there. Here you can see the AC output and the AC input. When we plug into shore power, that electricity flows through to here, and when we are running appliances, the AC comes out of this one here. This here is for our comms, and by comms it means this. This is the remote for the inverter. You do not need to use a remote because it does have a manual switch on in there. I'm not convinced that we need to mount it because this cupboard is so easy to access. Like, it's nothing. You kind of just open it up, turn it on, turn it off when you need to. If we do install this, it'll probably go up here next to our monitoring screen. However, if we don't need it, I don't see why we should be drilling holes into our wall. Further down, you will see our 2 300 amp hour lithium deep cycle batteries. These are connected in parallel. So we have a total of 600 amp hours, which I know is quite a lot to some people. I just hope that it's enough for us during winter, so we don't have to plug in too often. We had to do a little bit of construction with this cupboard by replacing the flooring in here. The flooring before was very, very thin, and there is no way that it would bear the weight of these batteries. Now these batteries are about 30 kilos each, so hence why we've had to go for a thicker plywood and basically reconstruct this whole interior just for these. These batteries here are self-heated batteries, so if the temperature does get to a certain point, so then they can still charge and discharge as well, which was great when we had them in the outside compartment because we knew that we'd be here during winter. However, we've since changed that and now they're inside, so I mean, unless inside gets ridiculously cold, they'll be fine. Well, coming off of our battery, this right here is our battery shunt. Now it is a Bluetooth shunt, and this is what tells us is going on with the electricity flow in and out of the batteries. It also tells us the state of charge. Again, Bluetooth, so we can monitor it on our phones and on the app in here, but great. Now the other item on our electrical list is this here. This is our 40 amp DC to DC charger. Now that is hardwired into our truck batteries, so we can get charge while we're driving, which is amazing. We are going to be covering this as well, but we're just looking for the right kind of mesh board that will go in front of here, so it will still allow ventilation to this, because when it runs it gets quite hot. So that's it for now, folks. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments, and myself or Matt will try to answer them to the best of our abilities. We'll leave links down below for all of the items that we purchased ourselves and that we've used ourselves in this setup. I'm going to hang out the rest of the day, probably have another tea and watch some Netflix. So, as always, stay safe, make good choices, and I will catch you on the next one.